Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here with our program today. I'm Armando F. Sanchez. I'll be your host. And this is part of my series that I do. I do a series of articles, podcasts, webcasts. And this is one of those shows on that area of the theme, are we headed toward a jobless future? This topic came to me when I was doing my doctorate work back in 1970. A professor raised the question, he says, will we reach a point where people will not have to work any longer, given that we have these new things called computers? And it was such a new concept back then, and I really didn't appreciate the question that was posed. And I thought, this is so far-fetched. I don't even know why he posed the question. Now I realize the futuristic perspective that he was trying to plan on us in that time. So I've paid attention to that question, and I've watched it as we're going closer and closer to an era where our IT, our computers are reaching a very high level. And recently an article came out about a hotel in Japan, and that hotel was the Henn-na Hotel, where they posted it on BBC, the idea that they were now going to walk in and you were going to have these robots greet you. Now, one of them is a picture of a female, and the other one is a dinosaur, a raptor. Now, why that, a raptor? I don't know, but that made it an interesting concept. And I started to ask the question, and I put out the article to my network, and I'm very, very, very happy that this one individual, Mario Oswaldo Carlos Jr., Carson Jr., responded. And he responded with this beautiful long article, and I read it, and it just really captured my attention. So Mario Carson Jr., he's a third-year student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and he is in hotel management. So the question of the today's show is the question, robot check-in, is Henn-na Hotel concierge going high-tech? Is this the future? Now, my interest is in all fields, but being that his specialty is in hotel hospitality, I wanted to ask him that. And before we start interviewing him, I want to give you a little bit of his background. Mario Carson Jr. is a third-year student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, with a focus in hotel management. Within his 2 years since moving from Los Angeles, he has had the opportunity to experience and take part of the magic that happens in various high-ended resorts in the world-renowned Las Vegas Strip while maintaining a 3.5 GPA. Mario plans to stay in luxury resort settings and become a general manager in the near future. Thank you, Mario, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Armando. Thank you for having me.
Well, let me start with the basic question of all. Being that you are studying hotel management, you're in the middle of a major city, Las Vegas, Nevada, and I posed the question, these robots greeting people to come in, cost saving for the hotel, apparently. Right now, maybe the novelty. What's your take on this whole idea of putting robots to greet people in the hospitality business, and will this start eliminating jobs?
Well, it's pretty interesting. I think it's a good concept, and it might lead to some good things, and it might work in some very specific fields. But in the field that I'm in with luxury, guests that come and visit, they want to be treated like royalty each and every day with every interaction that they come across. And when you have a robot that is there to greet you or answer some of your questions, it lacks that human touch. And guests might not respond well to that. So in a way, it can expedite the process of checking in a guest, or if a guest just has simple questions, it can expedite and make it very easy and convenient. A lot of the times in hospitality, there are people that have a lot of excitement, or they just had a bad day and they're very sassy. So with someone that is taken away from that, and you have a robot that has pre-programmed questions and answers, it eliminates that emotional misunderstanding that an employee can have from a guest, or a guest can have from an employee.
So is this only Cost saving process for hotels, not necessarily providing better service, but just simply cutting costs. Is that all this really is?
It can. I mean, it definitely can cut a lot of costs. With an employee, you have someone that is going to be there full time, 40 plus hours of overtime. You have benefits that they have to pay for, food that has to be provided. I mean, security. There's a lot of factors that go into having an employee. When you have a resort that has over 100 employees, I mean, that's already pretty big. When you have a resort that has 8,000 employees, you can just imagine how hard it must be to cut costs.
8,000 employees. We have hotel. Oh, wait a minute. I just remembered. Hotels are open 24/7.
Hotels are open 24/7.
Oh, that's right.
Especially in Vegas.
Wow, I hadn't thought of that. For example, many of the hotels on the Strip, do they have that number of employees 24/7?
Yes. So I got the opportunity to work at Aria Resort and Casino, which is inside of the city center complex. And that has about 8,000 employees. There's 1,200 full-time housekeeping employees, just housekeeping. So it is the largest department. There's also front desk, which is 120 employees plus management. You have front office services that include bell desk, concierge, valet. You have, I mean, all the restaurants, the shows, the entertainment. So there's tons and tons of employees.
And I imagine the turnover is constant. I mean, so, one thing that happened positive, I'm sure, for the hotel, I'm not representing them in any way, shape, or form. Free publicity. I mean, my God, they've been mentioned around the world in BBCs and publications, and I've run into them in magazines, whether it be Popular Mechanics. So the amount of publicity that they've gotten is tremendous. But I think it sets the tone, or it sends out a message that these are things to come. So who do you feel would benefit in incorporating this kind of approach where it's computers?
I don't know. I don't think that it would work in a luxury setting. Like I said, you have guests that come and they have tons and tons of knowledge about different sorts of cultures. And when you have just a very bland robot that just is not personal at all, it takes away from that experience. However, if you go and install a robot at the front desk at a mid-tier property, or just a property that is for business travelers that just go in for one night and just really need a place to connect to the Wi-Fi to do some business, then that would work extremely well. You have someone that doesn't really have the time or the need for connecting with people or employees throughout their stay. They just want their own individual time to work on their projects and get it out of the way. Or you have those big family travelers that really don't need a whole lot of posh settings or posh amenities. They just want to have somewhere comfortable to rest, get in and out really quickly, make sure that their family is okay. And you have a robot that can probably get the process done extremely fast and make it easy for somebody to come in and out. So I think maybe mid-tier, maybe something like a Hampton Inn, a Best Western, it would work really well. In Las Vegas, they have done several testing of getting, units installed so a guest can just check themselves in. But then there's the question of, oh, what if the guest has a question? How do they get here? How do they get there? What if they want to know what time the pool closes or the restaurant opens? So then you really need somebody that can listen and answer all the questions.
We're going to come back to that issue of listening, and that's an excellent point. Now, going back to the hotel, yes, you walk in and these two robots on there, but there's also the idea that you put your luggage, somebody puts the luggage on these little robotic carts, and they take it to your room, or they follow you around wherever you're going, and then they take it to your room. I could see where one could go to your room on its own, open the door by itself because it's coded together, go in, drop your luggage, I don't know how, but sort of dump them, I guess, and then come out. So, we're not talking only about entering, but all the background areas. You know, robots go around picking up trash out of the trash cans. Maybe they don't do all the house cleaning, but there's a lot of things that can be cut down for robots where they'd be running around, passing you as they're doing their work. Do you see that happening?
I can probably see some positions being eliminated and having robots installed, let's say vacuuming, or let's say cleaning the rugs, maybe doing a bed if there's that possibility. But then it also begs the question of, what if a guest has a question and doesn't find anybody else to ask? And the only person that they can ask is that person that's making their bed or cleaning the floor.
There was a picture in the New York Times sometime this week. President Obama was talking to a lady who, you know, heavy support of, for disabilities, and she couldn't come, so she sent a robot with a screen on it. And as the president was walking around in the White House, this robot was following him. It was in front of him, walking in front of him, and he was having this conversation into the screen. But it was more the robot was carrying the iPad around in front of him. So as I watched that picture, that image, I imagine what you're saying, that these robots are serving like security up and down the hallways, and you can actually stop one and says, you know, I need to know about the pool, and then it switches over to somebody sitting in the desk in India, says, yes, sir, how can I help you, you know? What time is the pool open? And I already know what hotel you're in. I just punch it in and it tells me, oh, this. So I'm not even talking to someone in live, if you will, physically, but I am talking to someone live over the connection of the internet, i.e. robots. You see something like that happening?
I can see it, definitely. I mean, like you said, it's great. You can just make it very simple, very easy to just, oh, I'm going to press this button and then the answer is going to pop out. But what if you need assistance? What if you don't have a question? What if you need help right then and there? The whole hospitality business is about being hospitable. And when you have this thing that's programmed with nothing behind it, no emotion, nothing to connect with you, no sympathy, no empathy, how hospitable is it?
Well, like you said, but you know, some people, you mentioned, you know, we're not going to mention companies per se, but there are lower tier hotels that you know, you're not going to get, you know, royalty because you're not paying the price, but you need 2 towels. So these, you know, can you send me some more towels? And next thing you know, they'll say, you know, you're going to get a phone call when your towels are in front of your door, and you open the door and there happens to be a robot standing there with your towels in the hand. And you know, a lot of these services being done with technology rather than having someone physically do it. And I want to mention here that, you know, and I had to do a little bit of programming in my head. When we're talking about one hotel eliminating one employee, we say, well, it's only one employee. But then you have to multiply that. All the hotels in the world get rid of one employee. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. Absolutely. So when we say one person, job eliminated, you have to do that multiplication in your head and remember, it's all the hotels all around the world.
Right, exactly. So it's huge.
So it's huge. I think I saw that number in McDonald's. If they got rid of one employee by some methodology, they would save in the millions of dollars around the world on a daily basis just because they eliminated one employee per each site. So the magnitude is huge. That's why we're not really talking about the one Japanese hotel. We're talking about hotels in the world.
Right.
And is this discussion going on in your classrooms, in your classes? Is it something that is sort of discussed, especially since you're going into management?
No, not about eliminating positions. More or less what we're learning in class is about different sorts of technology that hotels are implementing across their resorts or properties worldwide with fingerprint scanning, with iris scanning, just different methods of entering your room with without having to carry a physical card, connecting your phone and your room together to control lights or to turn off the air conditioning. It's really just that technology that is attainable in the near future, and that it's something that guests can use pretty easily. It's not crazy, completely out of this world, and it's just making more or less a lot more comfort to the guests, a lot more convenience to the guests during their stay. And that's what we're learning a lot of inside of our classrooms. And because UNLV is so gaming oriented, they focus a lot of casino operations, a lot of how does a casino run, because all the resorts here pretty much have casinos, and it's very difficult to run a 30,000 to 150,000 square foot casino with 600 to 7,000 rooms attached to it.
Now, I understand somewhere back, please correct me if I'm wrong, I read that the revenue coming into the city of Las Vegas now was at a greater amount in entertainment than it was in how much money was coming in from the casino floor. Correct. I don't know how true that is, but is that the case? Are you aware of that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Gaming is not bringing in the profit. It's all the entertainment.
It's entertainment. So, you know, like a boxing match, two persons in one ring, you know, the amount of money is generated worldwide just by the internet and watching these two persons fight. I mean, it's just incredible. And it's not, has indirectly, gaming is sort of secondary. It was the fight itself. So, you know, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right, definitely.
So, you know, as we're getting close to the end of the show, I'd like to ask you, you know, in your own personal opinion, what do you see happening as the world of technology is, you know, dizzily, you know, filtering
taking over?
What do you predict as a possibility in the near future?
I can see technology being more and more easy to access, more implemented across every hotel, across every hospitality venue, whether it be a concert, a restaurant, a bar, whatever the case might be. Even cruise ships, now there are cruise ships that have automated bartenders. So instead of giving an order,
I didn't know that.
There's a machine that concocts your beverage using arms, robo arms, and then they just give you the beverage. So there's no contact at all with the bartender.
So I go to a Burger King and I want my soda. They give me my cup. It says here, you know, go drink whatever. So now you go to a bar that has no person and not even a robot that looks like they're pouring something. It just pop. There it is.
There's these huge arms that grab the alcohol, grab a juice or whatever you're mixing. They pour it into a cup, stir it, and then they just slide it out, and that's for you.
Is that already available in Las Vegas somewhere? Or you said cruise ships?
They're on cruise ships. I believe they are Royal Caribbean. There's probably 1 or 2 ships that has it.
I'm going on a Royal Caribbean trip in soon this year, so I'll look out for it. I was not aware of that, but
yeah.
You know.
It's huge.
But again, I sort of a reminder for our listeners and viewers. What you see in one place is probably an experiment in one place, but it's really being observed by many other organizations to see what happens, to sort of quirk it. And if it works in one place, then it can be multiplied around the world in a matter of a year or 2.
Right, absolutely. And yeah, it's true. I mean, you see, for example, that bartender, somebody, another cruise line might look at it and implement it on theirs and see how it does. And it just becomes more readily available. And costs are lowered by more people that are accessing it and implementing it. So it just grows and grows and grows. We've seen actual physical keys move away from being, when you check in at a hotel, instead of getting a physical key, you get a little key card, and you used to have to swipe that inside the door. Now we're moving away from that and having just cards that you place on top of the door. So there's no actual contact. And now with cell phones being so huge, we all have iPhones, we all have Android devices. Inside of our phones, we have chips that are near field communication chips. So now the question is, how do we connect our phones to our key cards when we're checking in at a hotel to simply use our phone to connect and open the door? We don't even need to carry around a physical key anymore.
The eternal question. Everything can get hacked.
Everything can get hacked, of course. And that's what is scary. You have a hacker millions of miles away who can just log on and then access your room or turn off your air, and it raises a whole another level of questions. So in a way, there's technology that is going to come and make a lot of convenience for guests, but there always will have to be something physical or something emotional there, regardless of where it is. There are obviously properties that are very niche properties with smaller rooms, or a very small property that are there to provide a level of service to a certain guest, somebody that is looking for a very specific thing, or whatever the case might be. I can see a lot of technological advances for that. For example, that robot at check-in that can work in those smaller hotels.
You know, you're teaching me something very valuable I hadn't thought about, but now sort of I'm making a shift based on your information. The computer is something I see. I walk in and there's this apparatus moving around and, you know, doing whatever it needs to be doing, or the bartending and all that. I'm watching this. But from what I'm picking up from you is that there is a lot of technology being in place that I don't see, you know, but it's taking control of my environment. Like you said, my key, controlling my air, controlling my lights, doing all this stuff for me, which is robotic, but I don't see it. It just, I feel the impact, but I don't see the actual operations of it. So in many ways, there's a lot of hidden stuff going on that's technologically innovative, that's taking over that. Again, if it's more efficient, you're not going to need more people to handle it. And I think one of the areas that I remember reading about is that now the hotels are changing the way they do air conditioning in the buildings, yes, where it's more robotic now. And I mean, you know, I go in, it's either cold or hot. There's nothing in the middle. But there's a whole operation going on using IT and robots to handle all that.
Yeah, definitely. For example, at Aria, in the casino, the air conditioning comes from the floors. So the air conditioning is being pumped from the ground up. Instead of pumping air, which is 20 feet above you, and having to blow it at 50 degrees so guests can feel it at 60 degrees, you're blowing it at 60 degrees and guests feel it at 60 degrees. So you're saving a lot of energy, and it's a lot cleaner because the air is not being recycled and it's not holding so much at the top. At Crystals, which is their shopping and dining district right outside of the property, the floors have water in pipes that are just crossed, and the pipes are what heat the whole building. So guests can feel it being hot or cold. The water is going to be either hot or cold, and that's what makes the air conditioning. So you're saving a whole bunch of energy instead of blowing air from really high ceilings.
I have this question. The buildings in the hotel building in Dubai. You know, how do you keep something like cold hot?
Mm-hmm. Especially in the desert.
125. We have a reverb. I'm turning off. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, somebody's phone is.
Something is messing it up.
Something is messing. Well, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of technological advances in HVAC, and it's pretty crazy. Even the rooms at Aria, they have sensors. When you check in, the room knows that somebody is going to be coming to the room soon. So as soon as the guest arrives to open the door, the lights will turn on, the air conditioning turns on, the curtains will open, the TV will begin to play music, and it has a welcome sign to greet the guest. And then when you step out of the room, after a certain time period of there being no movement inside of the room, the air conditioning will turn off, the blinds will close, everything will close to conserve the energy and make sure that the building is not using more energy than it's needed.
How do they know?
There are little sensors that are placed throughout each room that pick up movement.
So to give me the key to my room, I check in. My phone says this is me. If I'm walking down the hotel, the mentor that I'm being close to my house.
Right, exactly.
Oh.
It's really interesting.
Fascinating. You're making it fascinating to understand all this. I'm sorry for the coming from. But as we're getting close to one final question. What do you think would be the major point outside of the hotel? You think the other tier hotel will start transferring over?
Yes, because they're smaller properties. They don't really need a whole bunch of staff. They can have one person or two people and then have a robot that can make everything so much easier and simplify the whole experience for guests. Not only are they going to save a lot of costs, they're going to make the experience on the same level as providing a genuine service from a person. So there's definitely a lot of ways that these smaller hotels or mid-tier, low-tier hotels can definitely implement robots and make experiences easier, simplified, and save costs.
My question was, are we a era where jobs lost? I guess what I'm hearing from you. Actually, yes.
In a way, yes. There can be jobs lost because of the implementation, but you'll never be able to move to a completely robotic hotel or hospitality industry. There's no way.
Well, thank you very much for being. I don't know what happened with the sound again. I'm sorry. But thank you very much for your insight. I hope to have you back on future shows. And if you have new developments, please contact us and we'll share it with you.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me again. It was a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Mario Carson Jr. He's in Las Vegas studying up there. We wish him success academically always. And to see his evolution into the academia and into the professional world. And as you learn more, as you see more, please keep us abreast so that we can help people understand not only the opportunities, but also be prepared that they say, you know, don't sleep on your job. They may not have it very long, so don't think, you have something for sure. So thank you, Mario. Thank you very much for being a guest on my show.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Adios.